Hey guys, I am Big and Scary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay from Team Echo, this time featuring in our top right hand side Echo's Clockwork, our orange Zerg, and in the bottom left we have Echo's Crowbar, our blue Zerg. It's a Zerg versus Zerg. We're on Daybreak, and this is the first of a best of three between these two gentlemen. This is actually the first of many best of threes. We're going to have the entire clan getting together and doing a straight knockout format. So best of three for the first round and the second, and then for your finals, it's going to be a best of five. So just basically figure out exactly who is the big cheese for Team Echo. So I'm kind of excited about this. What I'm not super excited about is the upgrades. Actually, I am very excited about the upgrades that StarCraft has been implementing in the replays. Blizzard's been doing an absolutely fantastic job, especially with the implementation of the take command little thing. Unfortunately, the formatting has kind of messed up my UI, so I apologize for that. You might be able to tell the time is just barely peeking over the edge. It's such a small deal, such a small deal. You know what's not a small deal is this map. The Daybreak is huge. It's absolutely enormous, and you've got so many different pathways popping into different ramps and different debris that you can take down. It is the Daybreak version, but this is Heart of the Swarm, so we have the unbuildable plates at the bottom of the ramp instead of those supply depots. Just another really neat thing that Blizzard's been doing. We've reached the 15 supply mark without having a spawning pool thrown down. Wow, both players are pretty much tied in the spawning pool timing. Both of them throwing it down at the 15 supply mark, showing you it's going to be a bit of a macro game. Again, Daybreak's pretty large. In order to do that cheese, in order to do that rush, there's really only two pathways that you can take, and a good Zerg player is going to have their overlords positioned to watch both of those pathways. And you can see that Clockwork's actually showing you exactly what it is he checked out the south one first with his overlord, and now he's walking it right over that ramp, and the second pathway is being covered by his second overlord. So if there was some sort of cheese, if there was some sort of rush, he doesn't even need his overlord in the enemy's base to notice it. He's going to notice the Zergs are going to be running underneath those overlords, and he's going to know exactly when he needs to cancel that hatchery, if he needs to rush out some Zerglings. One way or another, spawning pools are going to be finishing well before the hatcheries. Both hatcheries are going down. Both gases, this is when we can see that the timing's beginning to differentiate a little bit. Crowbar is getting his first gas a lot faster than Clockwork, and that's going to translate directly to a bit of a higher tech, a bit of a lower economy. Each one of these extractors costs 3 drones to mine, and as well as the money, as well as the drone to build. So it's a significant deficit in mineral income, which can translate to a deficit in drone income and queens. However, that extra gas can get you speed early, it can get you defensive banelings, and so that can really kickstart your economy later on. So Crowbar's a bit playing it a little bit more passive than Clockwork. I think Clockwork's going to be rushing for a heavy drone saturation at his natural, and then going to be able to power out a lot of Zerglings. So I think we're going to have to look to Clockwork to be the aggressor, and then maybe for Crowbar to sit back, relax, tech up. On the other side of thing, maybe Crowbar's rushing just so he can get speed and he can rush in there and do a lot of damage. We're going to have to wait and see. It's very much a flux sort of game. Very, very constantly changing. It's very difficult to tell exactly which direction which player is going to go for the aggression. One way or another, though, both players are starting up with that metabolic boost pretty much immediately, and the timing is pretty much identical. The first queen is already out. The second queen is out now for Crowbar, and he's going to be working on the plethora of drones. Hatcheries done for both players. Saturation's beginning to start. We switch over to the economic tab, 27 to 24. No real differences there, but there goes the Baneling nest for both players. That's absolutely fantastic. Wow, that's pretty cool. You can just see Crowbar, because he got that extractor just a little bit earlier, he's going to have enough for 1 extra Baneling, maybe 2 if he keeps that up. Yeah, he's about up by 50, so that's about 2 Banelings. And that can be absolutely world-altering, especially if Clockwork isn't properly microing his Zerglings. You get one lucky hit with a Baneling on a ball of Zerglings, and that's the end of the game, because now you don't have any defenses back at home. Clockwork is starting on his own defenses, though. I mean, he's got his spine crawler up. He's got that Baneling nest. Both players are playing this rather passively. Speed is almost done for Crowbar, and he's moving off with the first round of Zerglings. But those 4 Zerglings aren't going to be able to do anything, especially with that spine going to be finishing well in advance. Baneling nest is also done. I wouldn't be surprised to see these Zerglings morph into a Baneling once the Zerglings get noticed. Speed is done for Crowbar. He's going to be darting in, but speed's also done for Clockwork. 4 Banelings being warped in on the bottom side, but with the repositioning of the spine crawler, there's nothing to stop the Zerglings from rushing into the home base. 4 Zerglings on 1 Queens, usually they win that fight. However, with so many drones in the area, I think that Queen might survive. 25 health. Excellent micro there from Clockwork. You see he clicked with the right key stick, he clicked the mineral patch, and it got so those drones forced the Zerglings away from the queen, making it so they didn't have that perfect surround on it, making it so they could actually stack up and do some damage to those Zerglings. Saving that queen is a massive deal, because that's one more round of larva inject. And larva is the currency for, Zerg versus Zerg. 2 more extractors, the third already being tapped for Crowbar. Roach Warren is up with 2 Evo chambers, filling in the a bit of a wall off at home. Not even a queen could... I don't think that's tight for just a queen, so he would need a couple of Zerglings also. I expect to see a spine crawler thrown down there too, if Crowbar really wants to invest over much in the defense. I think both players are making motions like they want to take the third. However, with Overlords positioned over both of the third places, both players are going to know whenever someone decides to take that third. Both players are actually throwing down their hatcheries. This is pretty much identical timing for the lair as well. The only real difference is the tech path that they're doing. Economically speaking, both players are totally neck and neck. I mean, you check out 44 over 44 with the identical income for both minerals as well as the gas. Absolutely fantastic. However, Clockwork, he's just now gotten lair and nothing else. Some Zerglings from Crowbar popping in, taking out that third at the same time. We can see some Zerglings from Clockwork are moving out just to make motions like they also want to take out the third. Is there anything in position to defend Crowbar's base? I don't think so. He's going to have to run all the way home with all of these Zerglings, a couple of roaches in tow. Is this going to be enough Zerglings to take out that hatchery, though? They have a surround on it. I think this is going to go down. The Zerglings from Crowbar are arriving just in the nick of time, getting a nice surround on 4 of the Zerglings, but there's still about 6 of them still pecking away at the hatchery. 100 health, but it's building so fast. What in the world just happened? Crowbar barely keeping that hatchery alive. Absolutely fantastic play. He's got that roach warren up right now, and he really wants to invest more money in those roaches. He's messing quite a lot of gas and tech, even getting the muscular augments on the hydras so that he can do this nice roach hydra. But he's being forced to defend it with some Zerglings. He's forced to buy some Zerglings. 5 hydras on the way. Oh, and an overseer gets into the main base of Clockwork, scouting around. And I see there was a spire on the production tab, but has it been scouted? I don't think it has. He's got those hydras on the way, so he must have seen it. He hasn't seen the spire. Oh, this could be absolutely huge, especially because that overseer is taking quite a lot of damage. No, Crowbar is moving down with his overseer. He's going to see the spire. He's going to know the spire has popped. There's 8 Mutalisks on the production tab right now, but Crowbar has enough warning. Like I said, this is a huge map. He's going to be able to throw down. There goes the 3 spores already being constructed. Man, that's really good instincts, because he didn't know about that spire just yet. But what he was seeing in the home base was absolutely nothing. He just sees a single spawning pool. So it's a nice assumption that you can make, is that there's a spire on the production tab, that or a Nidus worm, and spore crawlers. Absolutely just the correct decision by Crowbar. This is going to save so many lives of those drones, especially with the Mutalisks now out on the field. But there's a spore at every base, basically. There's only one back at the home base, though, so this could be a nice juicy target, especially with all the production tabs, production facilities located there. The Mutalisks pecking away at a couple of the overseers. We can see that all of the overlords are kind of moving back home, back to the relatively safe defense of all the hydralisks that are now out on the field, as well as the spores. This is a huge ratio of hydras to everything else. There's not a lot of meat shields there. It's going to be very vulnerable to a lot of roaches, which is maybe something that Clockwork could follow up this aggression with. You can see how quickly those hydralisks make dead meat out of all of those overlords. However, a counterattack of a lot of Zerglings coming in, definitely going to be able to clean up this hatchery this time. Even with the pseudo surround of all of those drones on it, the hatchery does indeed go down. All of these Zerglings are going to be dead by the time they run past all those hydralisks. Nice decision there by Clockwork to send his hydralisks up north so that he could actually intercept them in their retreat. We see the resources lost tab 14 over 9. So not really in the favor of Clockwork, even though he did manage to snipe that third. Remember, the third also went down from from Crowbar sniping that third when it was initially being built. Interesting decision here to beat so many banelings, but it's not a bad one. Usually, traditionally, hydralisks have a meat shield in front of them of all these roaches, and because of that, banelings not as effective, because those hydralisks, this could be massive, those hydralisks can chew apart those banelings before they can actually do damage to the hydralisks, which are very weak. However, not a lot of roaches are protecting these hydralisks. So those banelings, if they get in there, if they can hit the juicy and delicate hydralisks, they could do some massive damage. Here comes the push from Crowbar. He might succeed in taking out this hatchery if he focus fires it. However, it's going to come at a cost of all those hydralisks. Hydralisks taking some massive hits from those banelings, and now there's only 6 left, taking another hit. No hydralisks are left. There's no anti-air. Those roaches will be targeting and falling that third, which is ultimately a big win for Crowbar. However, these mutalisks are going to be pecking away at those roaches, and we saw that there was a nice and substantial lead a short time ago, and now they're pretty much not even neck and neck. Crowbar is in the lead now. So absolutely fantastic play there by Crowbar, and a very good defense by Clockwork. He definitely mitigated not only the hydralisks by having that nice baneling mutalisk combo, but now he's pecking away and it is costing every single one of those roaches. Ultimately, Crowbar lost that entire army by the time he gets back home. Mutalisks are very, very powerful in Heart of the Swarm because of their tissue regeneration. Is basically makes so you get a new mutalisks every minute or so. So you can run in and afford to do this. Take a couple of hits from that spore crawler. As long as they don't actually die, and even if only one dies, they can be incredibly intimidating, especially now that the hydralisk ball has been severely stunted because of that baneling hit. Clockwork can afford to do this. He can come in and say, hey, you know what, you've only got 5 hydralisks. I know you're going to be incredibly cost effective, but that doesn't mean anything to me because I can just destroy you straight up and down and keep that ball very manageable. As things are now, Crowbar is very much feeling pressured. He knows he took out that third. He knows he's got some breathing room, but in reality, the only thing that third is needed for Clockwork is a gas income. He's got plenty of minerals, and he's got a lot of mutalisks now out on the field right now. I mean, how many mutalisks are we dealing with? 23. It's going to be able to one-shot pretty much anything. But Crowbar is getting a more and more intimidating force of hydralisks. It's almost a page of hydralisks, and those hydralisks are going to be able to devastate those mutalisks if Clockwork isn't careful. So it's very much a cat and mouse game. I think Crowbar is a little bit behind Clockwork just because he's managed to take that fourth, just because he's got this intimidating force of mutalisks. But if the hydralisk ball gets large enough, if he can trade well to Clockwork, I think there's no reason why Crowbar can't come back into this, especially with the infestor pit out on the field right now. Pathogen glands, he just hasn't had enough money to start researching that. He desperately needs to start researching that. Fungal growth's not nearly as powerful as it once was, but it's still a fantastic counter to not only the mutalisks, but also the baneling ball that we saw earlier. Mutalisks moving once in, again, one more time. The hatchery gonna fall. Oh, wow! Look at that fantastic transfuse, but no, it can't stop Clockwork. He just turns around, costing him 1 or 2 extra mutalisks ultimately, but the mining time lost is definitely going to be coming out in the favor of that trade for Clockwork. The hydralisks are forced to retreat. You saw that on the minimap he was poking out with them. However, Crowbar, once again, he's feeling so pressured. The speed of these mutalisks in conjunction with the speed of the banelings and zerglings that are now on the field makes it so that if Crowbar wants to move out with his relatively slow roach hydra composition, he's gonna lose, because those mutalisks are going to move in, snipe that third once again, which we can see is being constructed, or he's going to just do a run by with the zerglings, or he's going to take and sandwich these hydralisks with a bunch of banelings. Another snipe, some burrowed banelings underneath those hydralisks, taking them all into the red. Look how weak they are. These mutalisks are going to be targeting down those hydralisks. Another huge swell of banelings doing so much damage, and yes, the roaches are left alive, relatively unscathed from those banelings, but the mutalisks now have no anti-air to deal with them, and so they can just peck away at these roaches, ultimately costing Crowbar another massive army. I mean, Crowbar had a huge supply lead because those roaches are so supply heavy, and with 8 more mutalisks on the production tab for Clockwork, he's being so cost effective with this. This is going to be skyrocketing up to almost 30 mutalisks, and what can Crowbar do? There's no real, he's just now getting pathogen glands, and it used to be infestors getting out on the field could just devastate a ball of mutalisks like that, and now it's no longer, because the timing is so difficult to time with the delay of throwing out that ball of pathogen fungal, I guess. It's much harder to deal those chain fungals than it used to be, and with the buff to mutalisks, Clockwork is just showing you how devastating this composition can be. It's nothing that's been explored. It hasn't really been explored to its fullest yet, but it can be absolutely devastating. I'm very surprised at how successful Clockwork is doing with this, especially because Crowbar, I mean, he's got pure hydralisks right now, but he's got to know that those banelings are coming up. He's going to have to rely on the fungal growths to hold those banelings in place and allow those hydralisks to actually chew away at those Mutalisks, but there's so many Mutalisks. 34 Mutalisks. That is absolutely ridiculous. This is ludicrous. I mean, we've got 15 Hydralisks on the field, 13 more Banelings coming out for Clockwork, and that's really what he's biding time for. He comes in, snipes the Queen, just working away at that infrastructure, but ultimately Crowbar is in a terrible position. He's only got 3 bases right now, and that 3rd base has been denied so many times. He's so starved for everything, and minerals, gas, time to breathe. And then Clockwork, he's got 4 bases up, and 2 of those bases are pretty much exclusively for gas income. His main base is almost completely mined out. Here comes the final push. These Banelings are going to chew apart those Hydralisks. Some nice concave there for Crowbar, protecting them with his roaches. However, the sheer number of Banelings and Mutalisks managed to take out those roaches in just 1 or 2 hits, leaving plenty of Banelings left to take out all those Hydralisks. Now there's only 3 Hydralisks left with this huge swell of roaches. The 3rd once again gets denied. The natural's completely mined out. Crowbar's now on 1 base, and that 1 base is super oversaturated. I mean, look at this, 61 drones, and Crowbar just really can't catch a break. He has no area to breathe. He needs a chance just to hold back and keep Clockwork contained, but there's nothing you can do to contain this many Mutalisks, this many Zerglings. We got 30 more Zerglings popping out on the production tab. Clockwork, just for good measure, getting his own Infestor Pit, maybe thinking about going up to Hive, Greater Spire if he can in this game right away, but having denied that 3rd, I think Clockwork's going to be feeling absolutely fantastic about himself. Another stream of Zerglings making their way in, probably going to succeed in sniping this 3rd one more time. There goes the Queen as well. Oh, the pullback from Clockwork. I thought for sure he was going to be able to snipe that, but ultimately maybe the concave. He learned before that he can't really race Crowbar when it comes to sniping down that 3rd, but this army, I mean, look how ragtag that really is, even with the addition of roaches and hydras moving up from the south side. Clockwork with 180, Crowbar at 130, and the Mutalisks now have pretty much free reign of whatever's being produced back at home. 2 Infestors are going to get nice fungal off onto Clockwork's retreating Mutalisks, and then those Mutalisks kind of run into a couple of those hydras. But remember that Hydra ball, if it goes head to head with that Mutalisk ball, no problem at all. Those Mutalisks will chew apart those Hydralisks. They won't be that cost effective, but at this point, wow, how cost effective does Clockwork need to be? He can produce 6 more at the drop of a hat. He's got 38 more Zerglings on the way, and these Zerglings are going to become all Banelings in a short order. +2/+2 going to be finishing, and Clockwork has this game well in hand. Crowbar is going to have to either do some sort of Nidus worm into the natural to take out the Spire and the Infestor Pit, and even then, I mean, look at all those spine crawlers that have already been constructed by Clockwork. He knows that a desperation push is going to be forthcoming soon. Crowbar, he's managed to work himself up to a nice frenzy. He's got a good count of Infestors, good count of Roaches, nice count of Hydralisks, as well as the +2/+2 already done. So I'm surprised at how good of a force Crowbar's managed to piece together, even though he's been dealing with this amount of pressure from Clockwork. Here comes his 2nd push. The Banelings once again detonating on the Roaches, not doing the damage to the Hydras they need to do, but the air fleet of Mutalisks that are left alive, I mean, you can't see anything else. They're just raining death down on top of everything. This is absolutely devastating. Poor Crowbar having to tap out. Clockwork taking the magnificent win. I mean, look at that number of Mutalisks. 35 Mutalisks doing so much damage with the +2/+2. Fantastic game. Absolutely fantastic game. That's game 1. Game 2 next time. So hopefully Crowbar will be able to figure out exactly where this went wrong. Maybe he needs to double down on the Hydralisk production. Maybe he needs to get the Infestors out a little bit earlier. I don't know what would have been the money win. I think one way or another it would have been incredibly close because Clockwork did this really, really well. I will see you guys in the next game. I'm Big and Scary. Bye.